you know, two of the biggest questions I get when I come out to do events like this are, number one, what's your secret? You know, how do you do it? What's your secret? And the other one is, you know, how did you get on the show? Now, I'm going to share all those with you, but I'm going to kind of call an audible a little bit from talking to a lot of people before this started. My understanding is that you folks are really big on political, having politicians here. No offense to the city councilman that's here. So I was thinking I'd just share my political views and we'll have a political discussion instead. Is that all right with everybody? No? Oh, all right. Well, okay, time's over. You know, it was funny, and I will get a little bit, I guess, PG because it really makes the point and kind of as to what happened to my brother Jay and I, who was on the show with me. Jay and I went to Futures at Fenway game on a Saturday afternoon, and NBC cast for The Biggest Loser, similar to like what you see with American Idol. They, you know, send out email blasts and advertise the whole 9 yards, and you show up to a casting call and you stand in line and you get 2 minutes in front of a producer, and hopefully you can impress them enough that you have a good enough story and you have the look and everything like that that they want for you to get on the show. Well, they were in town on a Friday afternoon doing open casting and knew nothing about it. The show was on for season 4 was actually on air at the time this was going on. So I knew what the show was, so did my brother Jay. My wife had actually watched it religiously from season 1, but I really never ever watched it or paid attention to it, but I knew what it was. It was starting to gain some steam and become somewhat, you know, popular and growing into the animal it is today. So we went to the game, and as you know, Futures at Fenway are 2 back-to-back minor league games. So my brother and I, in all our glory, you know, had all the beer, sausage, you know, you name it, beer, you know, pizza, beer that we could probably consume that day. So about the 7th inning of the second game, we decided that we needed to stop, and we started to stumble out onto Yawkey Way. And, you know, we're coming out at Gate A. I remember it like it was just, I see it so vividly in my mind. Maybe because a lot of it was made up, but, well, I'll tell you what part. I see it so vividly in my mind. We're walking out of Gate A, and sitting over on a set of steps were 3 very attractive young ladies who were looking at Jay and I. And my first thought was, oh, great, chubby chasers, we're in. So, little did I know what was really on their minds. This young lady approaches us. And now Jay's probably about he's about 4 inches taller than I am. And he was at the time, he was probably about 320 or so, maybe, yeah, a little over 320. And I was approaching 300 pounds. So we were 2 fairly large individuals. And this girl was probably only about maybe 5 foot tall. I mean, she was 5 feet of fury. She was the funniest thing in the world. And she comes up to us and says, you guys would be great for this reality TV show that we're in town casting for. And Jay and I look at each other, you know, in all of our drunkenness, I guess. And we said, well, what TV show is that? Now, mind you, we knew exactly what the show was when this comes up. So she turns to us and says, NBC's The Biggest Loser. So my brother immediately looks at her and says, what are you, an asshole? And from there, the conversation really flowed. But that was a defining moment in not only my life, and my brother's not here to speak for himself, so I'll speak for him, as I do anyways because I'm older, you know, in his life as well. Neither one of us really thought that at that point, you know, we really needed any kind of change or anything like that. We were just going about life, having fun. You know, we both had 2 kids, and, you know, we were good jobs, great wives, you know, just not a care in the world. We were very complacent. And we were very happy with where we were. And little did we know what we didn't know. And I like telling that story a lot because, number one, it is funny. And there's a lot more to it beyond that. I mean, I could go into great detail. Actually, I'll just tell you a little piece about it. But, you know, she goes and basically the conversation, I'd had enough. And I'd said to her, listen, I was born at night, but not last night. What are you trying to sell me? Just in typical Massachusetts fashion. You know, listen, leave me alone. So only it got a little bit more intense than that, you know. But so she hands me all sorts of business cards. She's like, you can call this number to verify, and she gave me brochures and da-da-da-da-da. She's like, I want you to come back on Monday to do back to the callbacks because they had open casting, and then they do Monday, Tuesday. They decide who they want to bring back in, and the whole 9 yards. So I was like, whatever, you know, I didn't think anything about it. So I go home. And I tell my wife, I'm like, oh, this is, you know, this is, and she just goes nuts. You know, of course, the prize for winning that show was $250,000. Well, she at that point knew my personality, and she's like, you're gonna win, you got this. She was already writing the checks to people. I'm like, spending the money. I'm like, whoa, hold on, you know, I don't even know that I want to do this kind of thing. So I call her back, and I say that we can come in at Monday morning at 10 a.m., and that's it, just to see how serious she really was. And she's like, all right, I'll call you right back. And she did within 5 minutes. She's like, come here at Monday morning at 10 a.m. And then the next thing I knew, we were on a plane on our way to California for the next 5 months of our lives, which was crazy because we were very fortunate, Jay and I, that we get to stay till the very end. I was a finalist. Jay left 1 week short of the final week, and I became a finalist. So he was there 17 weeks. I was there 18 weeks. And it was very fortunate for us because we get to lose a vast majority of our weight, you know, there on the show. So it was literally that day we just walked out at the right time, and boom, you know, I won the lottery. I really did. It was an experience that I'll never forget, and like that's why I still see it so vividly when it's just her walking right up to us, and that's how the whole chain of events went. But so that's how I ended up on NBC's The Biggest Loser. And also a little caveat to that, they are now season 11 is on right now. Season 12 will be coming up soon. They just finished casting for season 12, actually. And in 12 seasons of NBC's The Biggest Loser, Jay and I are the only two that have never had to go through casting. So the only two, which, you know, I kind of hold, I don't know how to hold that because you could... I like to sell myself that it's something special, but, you know, I don't know how they look at it. You know, but I love that story, and I love telling that story because at that point, you know, I thought that I was just kind of husky. I didn't think that I was out of shape or anything like that. I used to walk around, suck my stomach in, big chest. Little did I know it wasn't any of it muscle. But, you know, so I think it's important that you always do look at yourself. And we all have, you know, everybody has one view of us, but we always have a different view of ourselves. And again, at that point, I didn't think I needed change. I didn't think I needed help. I didn't think I needed anything. I thought I was fine. But little did I know, you know, I was close to 300 pounds. My cholesterol was over 258 points, I think, at that point. I was pre-diabetic. I had a fatty liver. And I was going down the path. I wasn't, you know, unhealthy or at doctors all the time then, but it was coming. It was coming fast. And I didn't know that until you go through one of the most extensive physicals you'll ever have in your life before you get on that show, actually. And that's where I found all that stuff out. So, you know, I wasn't healthy. Even though I thought I was, and even though I thought I looked all right, it wasn't the case. Again, you know, I was just complacent. And it isn't until, you know, you walk out of Fenway Park and somebody tells you that you're large enough to be on a TV show that you kind of realize, you know, what's going on in life. So, I guess however you find out, though, you know, you have the power to change it. You have the power to change it. The show got me started, but what kept me going was my desire, my mindset that enough was enough. You know, went home after my wife spent all the money. I looked in the mirror and, you know, said that it's time. It's time. One way or the other, it's time. This little girl was right, and it was time to do something. So the show jump-started me. But I was the only one that could effectively create change in me. I could have gone there for 1 week and just done nothing and gone home the first week and that was it. And, you know, I didn't want that to be the case. So, you know, you have to have the right attitude and desire, as with anything you do. You know, attitude and desire is everything. If you want to be successful at business, or you want to be successful at weight loss, you want to be successful as a dad, as a husband, as anything you want to do, attitude and desire is everything. And you need to stay focused. You know, a lot of people make fun of me and they come up to me, especially, not so much now because it has been 3 years removed, but in the beginning people would come up to me because we were home. There was a 6-week lag between what you saw on TV and when it was shot. So the last like 6 or 7 episodes we were actually home waiting for the live finale, to go back out to California for the live finale. So I caught a ton of crap about the last 3 or 4 episodes where I was just crying every single night. You know, and there's a story behind that. There is a story behind that, because with 4 weeks left to go, I had hit my goal weight. Okay, so I had gotten down to 185 pounds, and I had 4 weeks left to go. I had 4 weigh-ins to go, and at that point, I did not want to go home. I had taken it that far. I wanted to take it to the end. So what you have to do from that point on is extreme. And it was mentally taxing. But I had a goal in mind that I was going to go to finale. And I stayed focused on that goal, and I worked extremely hard to get there. And I'll give you just kind of an example of that. Every weigh-in you see is week to week, but it's not always, it's a TV week, but it's not always a week on the ranch. Sometimes it could be 6 days, sometimes it could be 10, sometimes the longest one was like 13 days in between weigh-ins. It depends upon their scheduling, shooting, holidays, all this stuff. So we had 11 days left from the weigh-in where Jay went home till the finale weigh-in to determine who was going to be the finalist for the show. So those last 11 days were the most miserable of my existence on this planet. I ran 15 miles a day and only ate 500 calories a day. So I don't know exactly how to break that down so you can understand it, except to say I don't recommend it, and it is unfriggin' believable how miserable you can be when you're doing that. But I had to stay that focused and that dedicated to get to my goal. It was right there. I wanted to grab it. I wanted to be a finalist. I wanted to make it all the way. And that was the only way at that point that I could make that happen. Now, again, I don't recommend it to anybody. But it's just having to do with the right attitude and the right desire and staying focused to achieve what you want to achieve. You know, I did lose 129 pounds in 4.5 months, which is unbelievable, and it's also not common. And I'll talk about that part of it towards the end, about a little bit more about the TV show and some of that stuff. But it's not a common thing, and a lot of people do yo-yo back from, you know, severe weight loss or quick weight loss like that. It's very difficult to do and to maintain, but you know, you have to stay dedicated and, again, stay focused. It's been 3 years for me now, and I've weighed the exact same weight for about 2 years now. About 2 years. I haven't gone up, I haven't gone down. It's stayed, well, I shouldn't say that. I fluctuate between 190 and 195. And I have for 2 years. It never changes no matter what I do. And, of course, I'm like everybody else. I stand there and say, oh, I could still lose 10 pounds. But that's just kind of a mental thing more than anything else, which, you know, I'll talk about my running stuff, and you'll see that I truly am mental here in a few minutes. I constantly look at what's going on around me. You know, I constantly look at my situation. I look at, you know, my family situation, my work situation, everything around me, and what I do for workouts and life and health and fitness, and make sure that it's always in check. You know, David had mentioned, I think he said something about, you know, habits. I don't really know that, you know, of course they say, what is it, 27 or 28 days it takes to form a habit. Yeah, I don't know that that's true. I think that it's more, not so much a habit, it's being consistent. It's consistency that matters. Being consistent in everything that you do, staying focused, and just maintaining every day.